Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Today, I'm going to give you a description of what I'm seeing from the window in my apartment. Now, I'm hoping that this description is going to help you with your ideas about describing things. Now, I know that for those of you who are doing exams, describing things are very, very important. So, let's just begin with a few tips on how to describe things in a very, very good and authentic way. Well, first of all, what you don't want to do is simply use one tense. So there is a danger that I simply would begin by saying it is grey, it is green, it is dark, one person is there at the bus stop. This is simply showing the present tense, and it's rather dull and isn't quite accurate. A much better approach is to try to build up a story, because we are living in the now, and what we're saying, what we're seeing, has to be shaped by the now. So again, that would imply that the present tense would be the only tense to use, but in an exam, that wouldn't be showing the examiner the best of your English. So you have to kind of bring the other grammar in order to give a really good description of what's happening in the present. That might include things like memories of the past. It might include comparatives, for example, when you compare the now to something else, which is also in the present. So, without further ado, as we say in English, let's move on and start describing what I'm seeing from the window. Okay, so first of all, I'm looking out, and what I'm seeing is a kind of a barren landscape here. Okay, the grey concrete on the ground is matching the sky exactly. So compared to other days, it looks particularly bleak. Bleak is another word for kind of empty. It can also mean hopeless if you're describing a mood. Now, you'll notice here that I'm immediately not just staying with what I'm seeing visually, I'm turning it into a mood in order to work with it. Okay? Cars are dotted around the streets, which kind of looks like a canvas of art, which has a grey background with little specks of colour. To the corner of my window, because I live on the bottom of this apartment block, there are some trees which are gently protruding themselves into my view. There's branches from one tree, as well as a little pine tree, which is kind of like poking its head gently into the window pane. There are a few people moving around, and in particular, I can see a man and a woman wearing leather jackets. It just reminds me of the styles I used to use in the 1980s. Those jackets which were black with the collar turned up, and in the inside they often had the paisley pattern. These are still very common around here. In this picture that I'm painting for you in my description, I can see a yellow traffic cone, which is perhaps the brightest thing which is around here at the moment. There's also a dark green box made of metal, which is presumably for cable or electricity. I don't know why it exists, but someone's painted a picture of the Buddha on there. My grandmother used to say that these green boxes, which exist in most streets, in your country as well, I'm sure, are very ugly and that they serve no real purpose. Perhaps she's right, because looking at it now, there seems to be a lot of rubbish just all gathered around it, which makes it look a little bit less appealing. Now, I brought in reported speech there with my grandmother said. I've also used some comparatives from the past. This is a kind of picture that you want to build up. So if you're doing an exam and the question is describe your favorite sports match, for example, you wouldn't just say, oh, the sports match has people of one particular team or one particular type of person. You have to really paint a good picture. The room was very smoky. Or you could say the room was so busy. My grandfather told me that I should stay close to him. Using this kind of vocabulary is very different from saying it is busy, it is smoky. So the more you can bring a story together, the easier and nicer it is in your description. Let's continue, okay? So I'm describing what I'm seeing from my window. So I'm looking at a black fence which contrasts greatly against the green grass. Now, this fence goes very well with the grey sky, the grey lamppost, the grey bus stop. None of it is really contributing a kind of positive sense to what I'm seeing. However, a little cat has just walked past, and I've seen him before. He's very much the king of this jungle, and he's swaggering, moving his shoulders. He took a little look in the window, he saw me, and then he walked on. And it just reminds me that in any jungle, of course, you have the king, and this is certainly his domain as far as he's concerned. Seeing him changes everything, because he just looks so beautiful there with his white coat, and on the back of one of his legs he has a little love heart, which shows that he's the real romantic as well as the guardian of animals in this area. And he's huge. My neighbours have a wooden fence directly opposite where I'm standing. I can see that it's covered with an overgrown hedge which they've been cutting. Unfortunately for them, they haven't really cleaned it up very much. So the leaves and the branches of that hedge that they've cut, some of them are still lying around the street, which could be a little bit dangerous, but perhaps they'll come back later to clean it. There's a number of other things around, especially the waste bins. Because of our government's efforts on political correctness, every apartment has 4 bins. Blue for recycling paper, grey for food waste, green for plastic, and brown for garden rubbish. These empty bins, because not everyone uses all of them, they kind of like stand like sentinels outside every apartment. They look like little soldiers who are there to serve their purpose. I can see the satellite dishes as well, and they're all pointing in the same direction. Most of us now have cable. We don't need the dishes anymore. But I can see on other apartment blocks there's 2 or maybe 3 sky dishes. That reminds me of my friend Mohammed. He lives just around the corner from here. We were talking the other day about his obligatory Islamic obligations. And he told me it's very easy to face Mecca these days because satellite dishes always point in the same direction. So if you need to find Mecca in a hurry, you just look for the local satellite dish and then you know which way to face. So it seems like they're serving a dual purpose. Not only do they bring us wonderful entertainment, but they're kind of pointing the way. And finally, behind the most distant apartment block that I see, there's trees of green trees which are telling me that somewhere close by there's a forest. It's interesting because I didn't know there were any forests around here. And at the same time as I'm just talking about the forests, there's more people passing by now of all different ethnic shapes and types. There's an Indian couple, there's a man jogging, and there's also what looks like an African couple who probably are heading to the shops. So you can hear this type of description really enriches what we see. And that's a very different thing from simply taking something and saying it is. So comparatives, reported speech, describing things and giving them personalities, like the bins being like soldiers, like the trees swaying, the cat swaggering. These are always ways of describing things. And if you bring them all together, you can create a kind of atmosphere. I hope you found this helpful. Let's talk again soon. See you. Bye.